Michael, maybe if you could, based on your research and your thinking, what do you think are the main problem states? And then, we'll be positive too. What states do you think are moving in the right direction?
So that's a great question. When maps were last redrawn in 2011, we saw a round of gerrymandering and racially discriminatory maps unlike any that we had ever seen before. And the problems were sort of spread out over the country. But this decade, looking at it, I think you really see a tale of two countries in a lot of ways, because in some places, the prospect for fairer maps has gotten a lot better. Especially in the Midwest and in states like Pennsylvania, either because of reforms. Michigan now, which had really gerrymandered maps, now has an independent commission. Ohio also has reformed its process. And likewise, you have Democratic governors in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania who can simply veto bad maps and send the process into court. So, and then of course you have Brian's state of Virginia, which has reformed its process and looks also set for much better maps. But there are a lot of ominous spots still left, and really this decade, particularly in the South. The fast-growing states of the South, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, where most of the growth was provided by people of color. In Texas, 90% of the population gain was from communities of color. And one party again will control the whole of the process. And in these states, the politics also have become very existential, right? People feel like the party in control also feels like it's about to lose power, and so like putting your thumb on the scale to try to retain power for a little longer is what you need to do. And unfortunately, because there is racially polarized voting, all of that will, it will involve targeting communities of color, Black communities predominantly, but also in Texas, the very large Latino community that is growing very fast. And so it really is a tale of two countries. In some parts better, but in the South, we're watching that really closely and with growing alarm.
Yeah. And so now, Alicia mentioned the For the People Act, which is the voting rights bill that is pending in the Senate. Now, given what she said about the courts, do you think that the For the People Act would help to end gerrymandering on the federal level? That's the first question. And I guess, what about the state level?
So the For the People Act would do a number of things. It would strengthen protections for communities of color, which still exist in the Voting Rights Act, but have become a little bit harder to use because we've become a much more diverse nation. A majority of people of color in metro areas now live in the suburbs rather than in the cities, and because the suburbs are segregated, but they're not segregated to district size units. It can be a little hard at times to use the Voting Rights Act. So the For the People Act would strengthen protections. So kind of update the way that the protections work for communities of color. But it also would ban partisan gerrymandering by statute. The Supreme Court has said you can't bring claims into the Constitution in federal court, but Congress does have the power under the Elections Clause to ban partisan gerrymandering by statute, and the For the People Act would do that, and provide really powerful remedies around that, and it would be groundbreaking. Now, it would only apply to congressional redistricting, not to state level redistricting or to local redistricting, but it would it would help ensure that at least elections for the U.S. House were conducted on fair maps for the decade, because as I said, we're looking at staring down like really aggressive gerrymandering in states like Texas and Georgia that will happen without the For the People Act.